What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of Learning with Leary, presented by TheFloatLife. I'm your host, Jake Leary. Normally, I teach you guys how to not fall off your one wheel, but today, I'm gonna do the opposite. The first thing I want to talk about is when to bail. And if I had to tell you with one word, I would say early. Let's say your board starts wobbling and you think there's a 50% chance that you can ride it out. 50-50 is not bad odds of riding it out. But if you try and hang on and the wobble gets worse, your body is probably going to be in a much worse position to get off your board and run it out. So don't be a hero. The earlier you bail, the better position you'll be in to run it out and avoid hitting the ground. When you decide to bail, the first thing you need to do is separate entirely from your board with both feet. If you land with one foot on the ground and one on the board, you could wind up doing a split. If you land with a foot half on the foot pad, you could twist an ankle. If you land right in front of your one wheel, the board can keep going and smash right into you. And the one wheel can also bounce up off the ground and hit you. What I'm trying to say is, if you're gonna jump off, you want to jump off clean and separate yourself from your one wheel. You really should practice jumping off the board with both feet in a variety of circumstances, because even if you know that you're supposed to do it, in the heat of the moment, you don't have time to think about it. Your body's going to react automatically, and you want bailing properly to be deeply ingrained in your muscle memory, not just something you've thought about. If you have to jump off your board at speed, you need to switch from riding to running as fast as possible. This is gonna be a lot harder if your front foot starts out perpendicular to the direction you need to run in. Riding with your front foot angled a little forward makes it easier to look where you're going, and it makes it easier to run out a nosedive. Probably goes without saying, you also wanna have your arms ready. If your hands are occupied or in your pockets, it makes it a lot more likely that you'll fall and more likely that you'll get hurt if you do fall. When you lose your board, it'll really help if you are not going faster than you can run. Either way though, your first move is to try and run as fast as possible. If you can run it out, great. If not, take as many steps as you can. But I've got some bad news. Your body is going to the ground, and we need to prevent or mitigate injury. If you're falling to the ground, you want to, number 1, avoid hitting your head at all costs. And number 2, you want to spread out the impact. You want to spread it out over as much of your body as possible, and you want to spread it out over as much of the ground as possible. If you stop abruptly on one body part, that is when you break bones and get really hurt. Usually, the best way to hit the ground is by rolling. Rolling is harder if you wear a big backpack. If you wear hard pads on your knees, wrists, and elbows, you could practice sliding also, but sliding can be tricky depending on the road surface. A big no-no when hitting the ground is putting your arms out locked and stiff. You could easily break a collarbone doing that. You want your body relatively loose, but active. If you just ragdoll, your torso is gonna take the brunt of the impact. Your hands should hit the ground first, with your muscles active. Not stiff, but active. You want your arms to crumple with an even amount of resistance so that all your body parts take little bite-sized chunks of the impact and no one part takes the full brunt of it. Practice these on grass or something soft, and you will reduce your chance of injury on a one wheel. The best way to roll is called a forward roll in parkour, where you put your hands down, roll across one of your shoulders, and then onto the opposite hip. This is not to be confused with a forward roll in gymnastics, where you roll straight forward over your head onto both shoulders. Let's take a look at some of these rolls in action. You can see here, Elijah does not quite get the forward-facing foot placement that he needs to run or roll forwards. He lands with his foot almost completely perpendicular, and his body is basically going backwards. but he does a really good job of getting his limbs down to the ground, taking a few steps, getting his arm to the ground before his torso. He even gets that right leg to the ground again before his torso, and you can see his arm crumples with an appropriate amount of resistance so that he spreads the impact out over his wrist, his elbow, his left shoulder. He even protects his head with his other arm, and he's gonna roll from that left shoulder onto his right hip and just really do a good job of spreading out all that impact. This attempt was a little bit worse because not only does he not get any limbs to the ground before his torso, but as you can see, he's rolling almost completely straight backwards over his spine. You really want to avoid this because you're in danger of having your head get sandwiched in between the ground and your torso. He still manages to pick up that left shoulder though and avoid rolling over his head. But I really want you guys to understand that when you're falling off your board, it really helps if you are facing forward. So try not to fall off your one wheel. But if you do lose your balance, jump clean off the board early and with both feet. If you're going fast, you're gonna need to start running, and this is easier if you ride with your front foot angled slightly forward. If you can't run it out, roll and avoid hitting your head. That's it for episode 3. Thanks for watching, guys. This is not gonna be my last video on falling and bailing. So if you have any videos of yourself falling on a one wheel and you'd like me to take a look, let you know what you could have done differently to prevent a fall or prevent an injury, shoot an email to jake@TheFloatLife. I'll take a look at it and maybe put it in a future video. Thanks for watching, guys, and float on, my friends.
You stoked to go ride? I'm stoked to go ride. I'm gonna go ride. You should too. But if you're not, definitely subscribe to our channel or check out one of these 2 videos. I'm gonna go get my shred on.